Good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have a good friend of mine on the show. Mr. Joel Buhr is coming on. So stay with us. We'll be right back. And here we are. Let me bring Joel on. Joel sitting there with palm trees in the background.
It is much better than the 14 inches of snow back home. I'm not going to complain.
Guess so. We have Linda Ann Barber is already joining us. How about that?
Fantastic.
Yeah. So Joel, I started this. I started this show. It's been almost 3 years now. Unbelievable. Wow. I've interviewed 330 some odd people over the last 3 years, and it's been phenomenal. But I created this show to help people have a breakthrough, to get unstuck in life. And I know you have a story, and I'm excited to hear it. You're joining us from Miami, Florida today, which is not where you're from.
No, not at all. No, not at all. Yeah, no, it's definitely part of the journey for sure for me and me and my family, and that the reason why I'm down here. So
yeah. So why don't you? There's James Boudouin. James, my brother, how you doing?
Good, James.
So Joel, I forgot to tell you to share this out while we were.
It's already shared, man. I'm already on it. It's already going.
Snap! Look at you, man.
We're like all over this.
So, dude, let's start with you telling everybody where you were born and raised.
So, real simple question, I guess you could say. Where I was born and raised is middle of Nebraska, Grand Island, Nebraska. Small.
Grand Island?
Yep, Grand Island, Nebraska.
Dude, there aren't any islands in Nebraska.
Well, in the Platte River, there's a few little sandbars. I mean, they changed their location because they're sandbars. But, they're there. I have no idea why they named it that way. But, it's hey, good morning, Scott.
I told you one time when I lived in Seattle, when I was driving when I moved out there, I drove through Nebraska, and what's the next state? Wyoming? Is it Wyoming?
Wyoming and Colorado, right?
Yeah, somewhere in there. So I remember crossing the state line, pulling off the road, getting out of my car, and screaming at Nebraska, saying, right. I'll never do that again. Dude, it was 6.5 hours or something insane of like not a lot, but fields. There's a lot of fields. It's pretty wide open.
Yeah, no, so like in Nebraska, corn's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
Corn is, when I was a kid, a teenager, if you wanted to earn money, what you did is you did what was called detasseling.
Did what?
You did what's called detasseling. So you're actually pulling the top fuzzy part out of, the corn stalks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you'd go do this as a kid. You'd wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, trudge yourself down to the bus, get on the bus. They take you out to the fields, and either you're hoeing beans or you're pulling tassels out. You'd do that till maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it gets too hot, and go home.
Right.
You earn your whatever $5 an hour or whatever we were getting at the time. And, so that's how I was raised. If you want money, you're going to go work for it. My brother and I, we did lots of little things. We did the curb. We painted numbers on curbs, and paper routes and shoveled snow and mowed yards. Hey, good morning. Junad, Larry Snyder. Good morning. But yeah, so that was, growing up in middle of Nebraska where it's flat and you want to speed through it so you can get through it without falling asleep.
Yeah.
It's pretty much it.
Dude, it's like it's I mean, somebody said to me once, well, it's not as bad as going through Kansas. And I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just as bad as northwestern Kansas. I mean, northwestern Kansas,
and it's not bad. I'm not dissing on your state. It's just there's nothing there. Like it's just wide open.
No, absolutely. You're 100% right. I mean, really the terrain, like I like looking at the terrain.
Yeah.
And it's like the terrain only gets interesting when you move north, like close to the Black Hills.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And that's when it gets kind of beautiful. And, that long stretch is just boring. So it's one of those flyover states.
Quickly.
Yes, exactly.
Unless you're driving, then it's not so quickly.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Nebraska, and what was it? I mean, that is literally, I mean, that's America, man. I mean, and I love it. When people say, oh, we're running out of room in the United States, I'm like, you've not been to Nebraska or Kansas.
Yeah. Trees will grow. They can plant more trees. They can build more houses. There's tons of farmland that ain't used, that's not as used as much. I mean, so yeah, really what you're saying there, there's tons of room. If we had even 10% of California try to move to Nebraska and Wyoming, we would still have tons of room. Yeah, prairie dogs. Larry's right. There's lots of prairie dogs.
Look, Joe says the terrain is flat, but the people are. Wow.
Man, that hurts.
Right. So Joel, we met. What's it been? 5 years now? 6?
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's close to 5 years. I started following you when you had a show on Grant's TV network.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when you and I got connected. I think is just we connected over Facebook and just started, every now and then.
Yeah. So you grew up. I mean, what was it like growing up in Central America, Central U.S. for you? Like as a kid, I like to say, because I'm from the Midwest, right? Ohio's considered the Midwest, and it's I don't know. People are different. I think that we trust people more.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would agree with you. I totally agree with you. There's a given the fact that it's all flat, I mean, you got to make out what you're going to make out of it with your hands.
Yeah.
And so I think that brings a salt of the earth to typically, some areas. It's not saying that it's not there for other areas, but if you're going to make something out of nothing, you gotta have the willingness to do it. And so you're right. I mean, you're a bit more trusting. I'd rather make a deal with somebody on a handshake than a contract. If I have my ideal way, and it's just simply being truthfulness to your word that you're going to stand up that way. In small towns, when you're in a small town, people get to know who you are. They get to know who your dad is. They get to know who your mom is. You do something wrong, you guarantee your dad's getting a phone call. And that was the small town I was in, right? So I just wrong. I knew my dad's going to find out, and so that was a big deterrent.
Yeah. So you went to high school in, what was it, Grand Island?
So actually, I moved around. So when I was a kid, my parents got divorced. We moved from Grand Island to a smaller town called Doniphan, Nebraska, and it was one of those ones where one school had it all from kindergarten to senior. But it was a couple block school, but still, it was a country school. In that respect, because a lot of the other small towns all busted there. And, we moved around a lot as kids. We moved to, Creston, Iowa, small little town, interesting history there. And then we moved down to Southeast Kansas. So kind of in this whole vicinity, that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I actually did my high school for a short time in Independence, Kansas, down at the southeast corner. And then, straightforward, I switched over to home education courses, homeschool. for
my grandfather lives, or is it Independence, Missouri or Kansas?
So there's an Independence, Missouri, but there's an Independence, Kansas. So actually, the monkey that went into space, Abe the monkey, whatever, came from the zoo at Independence, Kansas.
Okay. Wow.
So
did you end up going to college?
no,
Really?
no, I didn't.
Interesting.
So I was a teenager in Independence, and I was working actually at Kmart, and I was a pharmaceutical. I was helping in the pharmacy. I was a pharmaceutical tech, at like 17 or 18, something like that. And then I guess I must have been trouble for my mom or whatever, and I ended up being strongly encouraged, aka you're going, to live with my dad up here in Omaha area. And so I transferred with Kmart. Again, I'm 17 years old or whatever, and I get up to Omaha, and I decided, you know what, I don't want to work for Kmart any longer. After a while, I worked there for a while longer still, and helped do the sporting goods department and that kind of stuff. And I went to work for a telemarketing company. And this kind of like gives you the short story of like where I came from to where I'm at and why I do what I do today. I went to work for a telemarketing company and moved quickly through their programs, and got requested by one of our B2B clients to go work actually in the field selling deregulated natural gas for Occidental Petroleum. They had a division called MC Squared, and so I went to work in Chicago, and I was flying back and forth every single week, working the streets of Chicago for business owners, signing them up for deregulated natural gas, their natural gas usage.
So you were going door to door?
Yep.
Wow. Chicago?
In Chicago.
Wow.
Southeast side.
Wow.
In a place I was told a boy like me should not be.
Well, let's tell the world. I got it. When I met you face to face the first time, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, GrowthCon 3.
Yeah, GrowthCon 3, and I was like, you had texted me, hey, can I come up and meet you? Yeah, come on up, and you walked in, and I was like, hey, dude, I had no idea you were 6'9". Or how tall are you?
I'm 6'6".
6'6". Like, dude, you are super tall.
Just a smidge. Just poquito.
Yeah. So you were going door to door in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which sounds just like a blast.
Well, I was like 18, just getting ready to turn 19, and I was like, this was an awesome opportunity. I even got a firm job offer to go work for Occidental Petroleum permanently. The regional manager said, you did fantastic, and actually we want to bring you on. And that was where I almost decided to go that direction versus the direction I went.
Wow.
And I came home and I thought about it. I'm like, I don't want to go that direction. I want to go this direction. I just want to do that. And, it's amazing, how you always look back at the decisions you make along the way and the journey that it takes you on.
Yeah.
And, you can always, but you never want to hang there. That's that one small tidbit I say for myself. You never want to hang back on the decisions you made and say, well, I should have done this. No, you got to go full forward.
Yeah.
I think people do that too often.
Yeah, I agree. So where did you go from there?
So where I went from there, we were using a product out when I was selling natural gas. We were using a product called Business USA. It was made by a company called American Business Information. And I just loved the product. I was like, man, this tells me so much cool details that helps me close more deals and helps me close a lot of deals while I was here. And I'm like, I want to go work for this company. And incidentally, I was working with my brother-in-law at the marketing company that we were at, the telemarketing company we were at. And he's like, well, let's go over there. Well, what do we got to lose? We're young guys and, no family, no debts. So I'm like, sure, let's do this. So I went to go work for American Business Information. Good morning, Charles. And everyone else. It's flashing by real quick here. but went to go work for American Business Information, and man, I just had a blast. I was like, you know me, Ken. I'm like, I'm a geek out. I just get all excited about information and technology and those types of things. And so it was just fascinating to me how information could be connected and how businesses were using that to grow their business and the massive success they were having. And so I quickly rose to the top 10% of my division at like 19. And if anybody knows, anything about American Business Information, now called, then it got changed to Info Group, now Data Axle. They were very notorious in the Omaha market for hire a bunch, let a bunch go, hire a bunch, let a bunch go. And incidentally, that was one of the phases I was put on. As we walked out, we saw a new car being unloaded for the CEO, right? A new Porsche or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I really like this industry. I don't want to quit. So I went to go work for a data brokerage company and worked for there for about 1.5 years. And I thought, I really like this. And I went to work for one of my customers doing the same thing again. And we took that company. I joined as just a sales guy and wore a lot of hats, did IT and accounting and all things like that. And we went from nothing to about 8 million in 3.5 years. And,
wow.
And unfortunately, the thing we've heard, all of us maybe have heard this, that money only accentuates what's in you. Well, it definitely did it, unfortunately, for the gentleman I was working for, and things went very much so the wrong way from an ethical standpoint. And the company quickly, even though it was massively successful, it collapsed on itself because of that. And
well, that will happen.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
Joe
where
Ingram wants to know, are those Clubhouse notifications we keep hearing?
No, I deeply apologize. I think that's my outlook. I'll close that down.
Yeah, we all keep hearing that. So, so you left that company and what'd you do?
I looked at him like, hey, I can go start and work for another company again, or I can take the information that I have and the passion that I have with it and go try to do something good with it and go try to help customers. Where I was at that time, my wife, she had just given birth to our son. He was 3 months old.
Wait, we skipped over where you met your wife.
Oh, okay. So,
come on, your wife is amazing.
She is. She's fantastic, and she's actually over here off to the side over here. We're both down here.
Tell her I said hi.
All right. Ken says hi. So actually, I apologize. I'll go back here. So the friend of mine, my best friend, who said, "Hey, let's go work over there." That's my brother-in-law now. And so,
oh, wow.
Yeah, that was my brother. Yeah.
So
hi, Audrey. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
So no, yeah. So fast forward a bit there, and I met my wife through him, and
wow.
We obviously hit it off, and we got married in 2001, and fast forward to 2005, which is when I started my company. In March of that year, my son was born, and here right at that same time period, a few months prior, we just saw the company of the gentleman I was working for just start to self-destruct. And man, that was stressful. It was stressful because a lot of the elements I felt were out of my control. And I want to stress that I felt like they were out of my control.
Yeah.
The reality is they were not. And I see it ever more clearly looking back. Some of the actions I did take at the time is, there were some valuable partners. And I said, hey, you really should start making us prepay. They're like, well, you're not too far behind your company. I said, no, seriously, make us prepay. I want to make sure you get taken care of because something ain't going right. And so they did, and I'm glad we did that. They got most of their stuff paid to them. And actually, one of those partners ended up being one of my initial business partners when I went on my own. And so that tells you about relationships when you communicate.
Yep.
And you do things the right way. You have people that line up with you, and they got your back. I had a vice president of still one of the largest data brokerage companies in the world. and her and I are really tight. And I remember when that company finally just shut down, as we fast forward to 2005, and I called her. I says, "Hey, Chris, and incidentally, to give you a little bit of the backstory, it's this gentleman. I have no no tolerance for dishonesty, none. I have zero. Call me a snitch. I don't care. If you're going to be unethical, I'm going to call you out. And the reason why I feel that way is because
wait, back up.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Why would I call you a snitch for having no tolerance for dishonest people? I hate dishonest people.
No, you're good. You're good. So no, it's some people do though, right, Ken? Some people are like, why would you do, why would you, there's not a lot of people. There's unfortunately the people that stand up for sometimes what's right are few.
Very few. Yeah. But that doesn't make you a snitch.
I know. That's what I'm saying, though, is like some people felt that way. But and the reason why I say that is actually how things kind of cascaded, because here was this gentleman. This is just kind of gives you the journey. Maybe this helps somebody that may be in a similar situation. Because again, sometimes money only accentuates what's in somebody. And then unfortunately, what happened is this person did not fill themselves with good things. And so when that money came, it only blew up the things that were bad.
Yep.
He was a very generous guy. I will say that very, without hesitation, because, when we got married, he was very generous to my wife and I appreciate that. There's a lot of things I did learn from him, but when it really came to pressure, people buckle.
Yeah.
But if they're not resolved down into here to do things right, they won't do things right when that pressure comes.
Yep.
And that's what I saw. So
I agree.
Long story short, that little short story before I started my company, First Direct, was this gentleman was taking underneath mentorship somebody that said, well, the way you become massively successful is you go start multiple companies and you just bankrupt them. You rack them up and then bankrupt them and start them again. And this guy had a severe alcohol problem. He drank like a doggone fish, and it destroyed his marriage. It destroyed the business. It did all of those things. And I remember we were standing out front of the office one day, and he shows up driving himself, and he's to that point of intoxication or of consumption that it's still pouring out of his pores. You can smell it, right? And what stacked on top of this was that my son, keep in mind, had just been born. And he also was on a second DUI and wasn't supposed to be driving. And the thought went through my head, I'm like, it's somebody like this that's going to hit my wife and my son, take their life. It's not right.
No.
And so I called his probation officer on because he needed to be taken off the road.
Yeah.
Simple. So long story short, fast forward to like May of 2005. One of the other employees had found out that I was the one who made that phone call. That phone call, incidentally, had nixed a trip that he was planning. It put a kibosh in that one. and he was very upset about that. Very, very upset about that. And 2 days, so 2 days before the company, we knew the company was shutting down. 2 days before the company was shutting down, he found out. One of these other employees thought, hey, it's going to be a bright idea. I'm going to get on the good graces of my boss and tell him Joel was the guy that made that call. And I got to tell you what, Ken, this was the best thing that ever happened. I heard this loud shouting profanity coming from down the hall, and I heard the steps coming. I'm like, yep, it happened.
Uh-oh.
He comes in my office, cusses me out, and says, you're fired. I'm like, I just looked at him. I said, thank you. Thank you very much.
Jeez.
And that's all I said. He says, get your stuff in. I'm like, without it, no problem. I'll do it. And I got my stuff together. I'm a little anxious inside, feeling a little nervous. And I remember I mentioned Chris. People, when you do the right things, people will stand by you.
Yep.
And I called Chris. I go, Chris, Joe fired me. And her words were, fantastic. Let's get started. You're gonna go somewhere. And I'm like, thank you. 'Cause
That's awesome.
I just needed someone to believe in what I could do.
Yeah.
And that meant the world to me. And it was more than just that she said fantastic. She was like, anything you need, you tell people, call me. And so, if anybody's out there, I want to tell you that when you number one, walk a path of consistency of doing things the right way, it will catch up and pay you back, even though it doesn't feel like it at the moment.
Yep.
And through the years, time and time again, when I've needed someone, when someone says, well, who are you? I'm like, you'll know who I am real quick. Call Chris. And within a few minutes, I usually get a phone call back. All right, Chris said you're good. Let's roll.
That's awesome.
And so, the beautiful thing that's helped me in my business, those relationships, is it's helped me to do things for my clients that are, allows me to be very creative in how I work with my clients and how I create solutions for my clients.
So, and we'll get into what you do now, but I remember the first time we talked for quite a while, and you were explaining what you do.
Yeah.
And I said, bro,
I know.
Remember what I said?
Yeah. You said,
what did I say?
He's like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I do data. He's like,
data. I go, dude, you got to make data sexy.
Right. Right.
Have you done that yet?
Every day I'm working on it, bro.
I love it, dude.
Every day. That's where this came from, right there.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
That literally. So for those of you that are maybe connecting this, and then you catch my podcast, Be Growth Driven, I'm going to give Ken Walls here credit here, because if he would have not have just bluntly told me that, I probably wouldn't have sat there and asked myself the question, like, how can I really dissect? Because I really geek out, and we all do that in something we do.
Yep. You geek out in data. It is not a joke. But I love the way, because you understand how data works on a level like nobody I've ever talked to. And so you're explaining all this stuff to me, and I go, dude, can you please look what JR says.
Well, 100% Omaha, telemarketing capital of the world.
Dude, but you explained it to me I said, okay, tell me a real life application. And you said, okay, let's take, for example, the 10X Growth Conference. And everybody's there with their cell phones. I can capture their and I forget how you put it, but I can basically put an ad on every single one of those cell phones after they leave. Like, I can have whatever ad showing up for the people that were in that arena at the time. And I was like, oh, well, that's different. That's way different. So
right. I had someone in one of the workshops that they're like, you're like a professional stalker. I'm like, that's what you do.
And it's legal.
Yeah.
And ethical.
Yeah.
Right. Because
100%.
Like Charles said, repeating you, walk with integrity and your path will be protected. So
that was the same conversation I was having with another 10Xer here. During this workshop, I had dinner with him, and a young man starting, and he's a marketing guy, right?
Yep.
And there's so many marketing guys, right? And I says, sell the stuff that helps.
Solve problems, man.
Service.
Solve problems.
Yeah, because he was acting like this 10X community that you are a part of and I'm a part of. David Bainge and I, if you don't know who David Bainge is, definitely look him up. But David Bainge and I have been have talked quite a bit about it. We were talking about it today, just an hour ago. And so many people look to try to, like, you could say, scalp or maliciously and willfully go lead people astray just to get their dollar bill.
Yep.
And they don't really provide a value. So, but yeah, go ahead. I apologize. I'm taking that off.
No, you're right. Keep going, dude.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So, things like that need to be protected. Whether it's your industry or whether your network that you're a part of.
Yeah.
And I think people need to have more of a voice there. People need to stand up and be willing to be heard and to be loud enough to be heard when something's wrong. You know, and people will listen. You know, you're not going to get anywhere with debates, but if you can break down discussions, people will have discussions.
Yep.
And I think if more people do that, you know, and there are the good people in the network, you know, things like the 10X network and many other networks where you find the good people and they're like, yes, I get that. Yeah. And you get enough of those people together, you can provide a protection, because if you look at just what's happened in the last year, look at how many small businesses have been struggling and having difficulties just staying alive. And look at how that's going to impact families, that's going to impact communities, that's going to impact, you know, generations right now. And how the businesses out there that are still alive provide services and solutions to these to these communities, to these family-owned businesses, to these professionals, to people that are just trying to get things to work. I think it's our responsibility to don't ever get greedy, number one, but certainly don't get greedy in the moment, and provide that value so that you're helping somebody get elevated from where they're at. I mean, look at like a lot of the restaurants that are being decimated because of some of the things that are happening right now. Well, there's ways that they could be helped, so help them. You know, if all they can do is carry out, go buy the food from them. You know,
I agree.
They'll go get their supplies from the grocery store, and the circle will continue. You know, the grocery stores will survive too, right?
I totally agree.
But no, it's at the end of the day, provide valuable services and understand when your product's not the right product for that company. They may be convinced that they need your product, but if you know, and you're a sales professional, you're a business owner, whatever, that you know it's not the right product for them, don't sell that product to them. Sell them the right product. And then
I agree.
Help them learn, give them the information to learn. That's one of the things that we're doing, for example, with one of our good friends in our community, is we're taking them through the steps of like, all right, let's step one. I understand like what information she can handle at the moment. Let's talk about this right here so you understand that part and how it works. That way you can go do your research and you know if I'm telling you right. And what was a beautiful like testament to that is we had somebody that's their mentor, really high up in the Cardone ecosystem, part of one of the Cardone companies. They took what we're doing for them to this individual, and he says, I just make these 2 tweaks or these couple tweaks and you're good. So it's, if you do the right things, you're gonna get the attention that you're thriving for, maybe.
You know, you have you're one of these people that I first, I consider you a good friend. Second, I think that you have this ethical side to you. Maybe that's not the right word. I mean, you're definitely ethical, but you have this just wholesome goodness about you. You're just a good dude. And my question for you is, did that come from, you know, dad finding out? Or did it, you know, is that what kept you in line your whole life? Did you ever go astray? Did you ever have a wild side? Did you ever get in any trouble at all?
I think my astray is probably going to be like no astray compared to some. Okay, so
right.
You know, it's you know, I was raised with firm. I consider myself a Christian. I was raised with Bible values. That was stress. You know, my family had its turmoils, had its hardships. My parents got divorced, so obviously some things happened there. But what I will say this is, as a family, even a split family there, at the end, they did their very best to fix things, applying Bible principles to that. So Bible principles have always been a guidance there. Have I always done things the way that I feel I should have done them? No, I've failed many times. And even with my wife and I, this year we'll be married 20 years. And wow. we've had our, I know it feels crazy, man. We've had our ups and downs. We've had our times where we just want to, like, you know, why? But what's even carried me and my wife through those things is a love for God that's greater than each other. You know, and that has to be individual. You know, her love has to be, you know, for God has to be greater than her love for me, and mine has to be, you know, for him more than her. And, you know, for those of you, you know, those that may be listening that don't feel that way, that's fine. There has to be something higher that moves you there. For me, I've been asked this quite a bit this weekend, kind of a thing, you know, and I was told by an aunt. I remember when I was a teenager, with all the chaos that was going on in my family when I was young, I was told by my aunt, you know, at a point I was lectured. I remember one time till like 2 or 3 a.m. and I mustered the courage to say, "You've left me with no dignity." And she turned to me and said, she told me I didn't deserve none, and that stuck with me it still sticks with me. And
that you didn't deserve dignity.
Yeah, and I know what she was trying to do. She was trying to do that good old fashioned hardcore knock the senses out of you thing, right?
Yeah.
And man, that hurt to the core. And so for a long time, I think I felt like I didn't have it. And I finally, you know, one of the things that I'll say that I grappled or anchored onto, like the 10x rule. I'm a big fan. There's not everything that I agree with there, but I'm a big fan of a lot of the principles that I know that I could apply.
Yeah.
And one of the things that kicked off in me like over 5 years ago was this, you know what, there's a lot of things I haven't pushed to the full. I actually didn't really try. That's not being ethical. And so I just started saying yes to everything. And I just started saying, how can I push? And you start building kind of like, where do I want to be remembered? Or where do I want this to take? What do I want to be the outcome of this? And one of the summations of that I can think of is I want to be the reason. I thought of the wording too. Like, I want to be the reason for the biggest party I'll never make it to.
I love that. Without
trying. So you've heard me share that with Glenn.
Yeah.
But it's because if I can lift somebody up, that's my selfish commission. Even if it's something that they'll never know that I did.
Yeah.
I'd rather know that.
So, dude, I love that. And the biggest party you're never going to be at is what?
When I die.
Yeah. Your funeral.
Yeah. You know, I do public speaking ministry work, and I have not brought myself to willingness to do weddings, but I'll do funerals. And here's the reason why I'll do funerals is because I know where that person's been. I can see the journey they've been on, right?
Yeah.
See, weddings are hard. You sure hope they go in the right direction. So, but it's, you know, what kind of I guess the you know, there's a scripture that talks about the better is the day of what goes along, the better of day of one's death than the day of one's being birthed. And it's because all the things you've done haven't been recorded yet. Right? Your name means nothing. Your name doesn't mean a lot yet. It doesn't make you less important, but you've not accumulated that wealth of what your name means.
Right.
And unfortunately, so many people are only focused on the material wealth they can accumulate. You do need that. But you need a different type of wealth, and that's the reputation of what you stand for. When I started my company, I mean, one of the things that I came home and told my wife, I'm like, well, number one, I'm starting a company. She's like, okay. And I said, you know, I don't want to go work for somebody else. And do I have a brother? I do. I'm not recommending him out.
Jeez.
He's got some things maybe to do. I love my brother dearly. I don't think he'll see this, but if you do, sorry, brother. Love you. It's one of the things it's in tune with that. It's like I always want to make sure that when I do things that I can come home and look my kids in the eye and said I did my very best and mean it.
Wow.
I 100% did my very best. Even if it meant that we were at the last nickel and I had the choice of A or B, do something unethical. See, because some people feel that way, don't they, Ken?
Yep.
There's a part that I was working on about honesty, and I actually sent a poll out to people in business connections that I knew. And I asked them a simple question. I said, what does honesty mean to you? Number one. And number two, how do you know that you're looking at something that it's honest? And it was rather shocking, actually, the response I got from one individual. And I don't name that individual, but I use it actually in that part. And the person responded this way. And this was somebody that you would think would be really high up in there. And one of the things they said was, when I look at something and I know that it's good for me and those that I love, that's how I know it's honest. And if we saw that on a Facebook post, how many people might hit like on that? Unfortunately, a lot. But people don't go to think about, hey, it's not what you feel is honest or what is good for just your close people that makes it honest. What's honest is what's honest. And what's ethical is what's ethical. There's no gray zone. It's black and white.
Wow.
And that led to the other question of, well, how do you know? And then he continued on. It's like, when I know it's good for those that I love, well, that's selfish. You're only looking out for yourself then.
What's your, I have two questions. Number one, what's your, talk about your day. What do you do? Like, what do you do when you first get up, and what do you, how do you structure your day?
Oh, real simple. First thing I get up, Bible reading. Bible reading is first thing, because your mind is fresh, it's empty, and you need to fill it with the right thing on the foundation first. So for me, that's Bible reading. I do some study. I do additional studies. I do some additional spiritual studies at that time too. And the next thing I do some sales training. So I do Cardone University. I do my training. I get my sales training in. I get my head, moving on to business a bit. I write my goals out. Goals for me, when I was in a really, really, kind of a dark time, good 6-7 years ago, I wasn't writing goals. I wasn't focused. And so goals to me were like a new form of medication. And they had to be so big it scared the living daylights out of me. And the reality is what scares you won't scare somebody else, and what scares somebody else won't scare you on a goal. And that's okay. They're your goals. They need to be what scare you. And they need to be what actually, it has to be a goal that pulls you forward in the direction that you should go. And so for me, I wrote goals as if they were my medication. And actually, 6-7 years ago, I was on some stuff trying to deal with anxiety. And I realized I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be on this stuff. This is just clouding my head. This is messing me up. It's not helping me. And so I had to figure out a way to, each situation is different, is what I'll say. It's never one of our positions to judge somebody else's situation. They know their situation better than we do. But for me, the decision I made was, I'm going to change things. These anxiety moments that I'm having in my head, they're in my head. I need to figure out what's kicking them off. And what I realized for me was my goals were never big enough, and they were never real enough to me. And I wasn't as committed to them. They didn't pull me forward. And see, I think that for me, so if this helps somebody, that's why I'm saying this is for me, that lack of being pulled forward or lack of being committed created me a frozen moment in time, which only exacerbated the anxiety of it all. Because we're all hit with pressures. We all got bills to pay. We all got this going on in the family and this going on in the family. So we need something to focus on. So for me, I treated it as such, so much to the degree. I remember one time I forgot my goal book at, I worked late. It was like 2 a.m., dragged myself home, and I realized, shoot, I didn't write my goals. I got back in the car, went back to the office, got my book, wrote the goals, took a shower, went to bed. And that's how important it was for me. That's the happy pills goals. That's 100%.
Yeah.
So, so my day is that. My day is spiritual things first. The way that I look at, like, if you're in, if you've read the 10X rule, if you're kind of like intermingling that, all of my goals get connected together, from spiritual to personal to business to family. All of those are stitched and dependent upon one another. They're woven into one another. I cannot set a goal for business that doesn't complement the other goals, and I can't 10X or push hard, on business if I'm not willing to do it in the other areas first. So for me, that's what levels and irons me out.
Wow, dude, that's incredible. So, and you have kids?
Yep.
How many?
I have 2. I got a son that's 15 and a daughter that's 9.
Wow. That's about the my daughter's 15 and the other daughter's 10. So
yeah, right.
about the same.
Yeah.
So what's in your future, man? What are you shooting for? What's next for you?
Actually this weekend I was at the 10X scale workshop, and that actually helped me really start to think about those things and try to peel off some more layers of what I needed to maybe adjust. My long-term, like a 10-year goal out there, would be for my wife and I to be able to participate more in ministry work that we both enjoy and volunteer work that we both enjoy. But I want to be able to do that anywhere at any time and fly myself. So, that obviously is going to take some funds. So I need to get business to a point where it helps to, it takes care of that.
Yeah.
So, that leads me to my business goals, and my business goals, I want to see my children doing very well and focused and grounded and help them to do that. My wife and I very much so believe of making our children work hard for the things they earn. They don't get something without, working hard for it, that they really want. Doesn't mean that we don't give them gifts and things like that, but those things they want, we try to teach them how to go work hard for it. And that's the only way you get it.
Yep.
From a business standpoint, we're a smaller $1.2 million company this last year. We saw phenomenal growth, with a lot of credit due to the sales training from Grant Cardone and his team and their Cardone University. And our goal is hit 10 million. When we hit 10, go for 100. When we hit 100, go for $1 billion. Who knows? Even if we do 50% of that, would it probably do a lot of what I'm trying to do? You bet, probably so. But I want to create the opportunity though for others to join in that way and be able to help make sure I find the right people that should be helping other businesses grow.
So for people that are watching that may not know what you do, I mean, kind of in a sexy way. No, but kind of explain to everybody what it is that you do.
So I'll try to make it as a simplistic way as possible. So what I do is I help companies get the right information that they can use in their sales and marketing so they can get right on their ideal audience. And then I help them execute their message on that audience if they're needing that assistance. But really where companies have the most need is getting in touch with the right audience. And so that's what we help companies do, whether that be, your traditional mailing lists and sales leads to the really wicked, cool, big data that is the creepy CIA stuff that lets you do awesome Facebook marketing and digital marketing that gets your name out there. So we help companies grow. Simple as that.
That's awesome, dude. Where can everybody follow you? What's the best place?
Best place to follow me actually is connect with me at joelbuhr.com. And if you want to reach out, of course, I got a form page there. You want to connect out there, by all means, just go to joelbuhr.com, fill it out, hit me up on Clubhouse, Joel Buhr, at Joel Buhr, on Instagram at joel.buhr. You'll find me on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you'll find me hanging around Ken Walls. Good guys like Ken Walls.
You're a good dude, man. I'm honored to call you a friend. So let me ask you this, and I ask everybody this question. What do you think, in your opinion, and let me say the number one answer is fear, so you have to do better. In your opinion, what do you think holds people back from not just financial success, although it's very important,
right,
but from freedom and happiness and joy? What do you think is holding people back in life?
Well, fear is a good one, but I think it's a combination of integrity and goals.
What if God asked you that question? What would you say to him?
Well, integrity is a big one. If you're going to have a relationship with God, you're going to have some integrity.
Now, if God said, Joel, share with the people what's stopping them in life.
Action. Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might. Action. People lack action. Lack of action lets fear come in.
They need to add on to that scripture, a Grant Cardone little thing saying, so 10x.
Right. So it's, grab a hold of what you're going to grab a hold of. Take action. And don't grab a hold of things that are bad that you can't let go of. I had an uncle. His statement was, don't grab a hold of something you can't let go of. It's actually something I write down every day. He's a great uncle, wonderful man.
What do you mean by that? Explain that.
So don't grab a hold of something you can't let go of. Now that kind of sounds probably, like never commit to something. That's not what it really means. But what it really means is don't grab a hold of something you can't let go of. Sometimes we do grab a hold of things that are not good for us. And we get so,
like what?
Well, look at what people do. They'll commit to things to the degree that they take themselves down a dangerous direction, right? Maybe it's overindulging in something. Maybe it's a bad business relationship. Maybe it's a bad friendship.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean you kick your friends and your loved ones to the curb. That doesn't mean that at all. There's some things you should grab a hold of that you should never let go of. Your spirituality, you should never let go of that. You should always be improving it, always be growing. But there's also some things that are in the world today that only actually hold people back and create distraction. I mean, look at the pressure we see upon everybody from so many different angles, whether it be economic, relationship, the wrong advice, right? Yeah. Again, I'm a big avid Bible student, so there's even individuals out there. The scriptures say, I think it's in 1 Timothy 3, and it talks about those people that have an appearance of godliness but proving false to its power. I mean, what does that tell you? In that same neighboring verses, it says that being misled or misleading others and being misled. So we got to be careful where we take advice from. Because sometimes those people that look high and mighty and look like they're the right people, they're not only misled already, but they're actually intent on misleading.
Yep. False prophets.
Yep, exactly. So, you got to be willing to let go. You got to be able to recognize and let go of those things.
That's that's something that Glenn and I talk about a lot in our live shows. We've talked about this a lot, and that is, there's so many people walking around that, well, I go to church every Sunday, so I'm good. Well, dude,
Great.
what do you do the rest of the week? Like,
Yeah.
you know, that doesn't
Why
give you you don't get a hall pass to you know, rob banks the other 6 days of the week.
Yeah. You gotta make what, if you say that you stand for this, or this, it has to be evident in every area of life. It just has to.
Yeah.
Take action. Just simply take the right action, and be willing to look back and have the humility to say, hey, did I do that right? And if the immediate answer comes back and you realize, no, I need to change something, then change it. Get over it.
It really is that simple.
I screwed up. I'm gonna fix it. I mean, how many marriages would be saved if a person actually said that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many business relationships would be saved? I messed up that project, Ken. I take full responsibility for that. I want to assure you, I'm going to take care of that problem.
Yeah.
It's on me. It's not on you. It's on me. That would fix that. And you'd be like, yeah, you screwed up. You're going to fix it. I'm glad you acknowledged that. You know, same thing with our spouses. You know, sometimes we get too locked in and we want to be unreasonable, but we're being unreasonable in the wrong way.
Amen, dude. Amen.
Yeah. Beep, beep.
So yeah, I sit in the car and say beep beep doesn't make me, or sit in the garage, say beep beep doesn't make you a car. So you know, the 2020 was a great year for me. It was a great year for a lot of people, but it was a really bad year for a lot of people. So much negativity, so much bad press and fear mongering, and you know what, I mean, honestly, dude, like the suicide rates went just skyrocketed for somebody that is at the end of their rope. Are you getting a message?
No, I'm looking at something. I'm listening to at the same time. I was looking at something along the lines of what you're talking about. So go ahead.
For someone that's at the end of their rope, for someone that's I remember a day that I had my car repossessed in front of all of my employees. That was a really terrible day.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
And you know, I honestly that day felt like this is it. It's the end of the world. Like it's over. Like my life is over now. And you know, I think that that's not necessarily true. But what would you say to somebody that's at the end of their rope? They don't feel like going on anymore, that they can't feed their kids, their electric's shut off, their car's getting repoed. What do you say to somebody that is at that point to help them get through that moment to the next?
You know, I think the first thing that needs to be encouraged to that individual, if they're a spiritual person, hopefully they are, is pray. Pray, because the beautiful thing is you know, our Heavenly Father, He responds to an earnest, heartfelt supplication, and He assures us that if we humble ourselves, we throw our burdens on Him, that He's going to listen to us. He's going to help us through the situation. Now, we have to be patient too, because we, you know, the electric being shut off, you know, we depend on those things very much so, without a doubt. But worse things have happened and people have come through. And you know, the encouraging thing that when we see success from individuals that have climbed out of any odds, right? That same success that they're capable of, you're capable of too. And take the time to just talk. Start with prayer and trust somebody to help you. You know, and if they're hearing this, then hopefully there's someone in this community of these fine people that are joining in with comments, like guys like Frank, right?
Frank's the man.
Call him. Say I'm having a hard time. And for the rest of us that we need to take the time to recognize when someone's having a hard time. We need to take the time to check in on those people, right? And make sure that they know they're not alone, because that is a responsibility. That's our responsibility to actually to reach out and help our neighbor. We can't be so selfish that we're not willing to do that.
Phenomenal, dude. Phenomenal. Bro, and Frank says it, and he's right. You're right. Show some empathy, man. Show care about your fellow man, and your fellow man will care about you.
Yeah, don't give up. You know, if somebody's in that state, if somebody's feeling down, do not give up. Hold on, reach out. Just, you know, giving up takes a lot of energy. It's going to take a lot less energy to reach out.
Amen. I agree. Pride.
Yeah.
Don't let your pride.
There's an inspired scripture that in 1 Peter 5:6-11. I love that one because I'll share. Can I share a short, real quick?
Please. Yeah. Go ahead, dude.
You know, I was talking actually the other day with a friend. You know, a friend, and I was actually at this workshop, and he's just starting a business. He's trying to get his family pulled down from where they're at, and he's a Louisiana boy, and so I figured this illustration would make sense to him. I asked him, I said, well, how do they trap raccoons up in Louisiana? And he goes, oh, they put something shiny out. I said, yeah, okay. So they drill, and for those of you that don't know, it sounds really, really kind of morbid, but they'll trap raccoons by drilling a hole in a stump, and then they'll put something shiny, and they'll put nails, and of course the raccoon reaches in there and grabs that, and the raccoon grabs that, and of course along comes the hunter and whacks them. They're done. They become a hat. So we do the same thing sometimes too, and we could be doing this in a number of areas. We hold on to the shiny. We hold on to our anxiety. We hold on to a lack of humility. We hold on to our pride. We do all those things, and what it does is it sticks us in time. We're not able to move, and that's when real disaster comes, right?
Yeah.
So I told my friend here, I said, well, so now my code word with you now is going to be raccoon. Anytime I see you getting a little anxious, I says, don't be the raccoon, man. I says, you don't want to be a hat. But there's that scripture that's in 1 Peter 5:6-11. So for all those listening, please understand where I am saying this and how I'm saying this. Is sometimes when we're at this moment, we got to realize that what we're really only thinking of is ourselves at that moment. Maybe in that moment, take a notepad and a paper and write down something that you can think of about somebody else that you really treasure. So if you're at this moment where you're at a loss, where you're like the electric's going to be shut off, you know, you don't know where food's coming from, take a moment to take stock of the things you are blessed with. And maybe pick up the phone, reach out and say, Frank or Ken or Pamela, you know, I appreciate the smile you always bring to the room, and I wanted you to know that. You've always made my day. And when we do that, you know, let's face it, what are we giving them? They may not be in a bad moment, but we're lifting them up.
But don't, you know, I agree with you, but you know, I would caution you also to not do it in a manipulative way.
No.
And you know,
no, exactly. I think, 100%.
Right. I think what you're trying to say is lift other people up first. I have so many people that send me, don't even have relationship capital with me at all. I don't know them at all, but they send me messages every day. I get messages asking for my help, asking for money, and it's like, dude, I don't even know you. Like, I'm not, there's, you know, I'm sorry. What I think that the more that people stop being all about themselves and their wishes,
like that.
Right. In other words, like, I know you. I can reach out and say, bro, I appreciate you. I love you, man. I hope that you're doing great. Just wanted you to know I love your energy and everything that you do. Boom. That's it. Done. Yeah. And all that does is lift you up.
Yeah. But what happens here is this. So here's what the benefit. This is the commission that you get is, man, if you put it, you don't know what I'm going through at that moment too. You may think Joel's just this positive dude and he's good.
Yeah. Not necessarily true.
Well, it's I could be hit at that moment with the worst thing, and you could be at your bottom. You feel,
Yep.
and you know what? It may happen. It may happen where you're like, Joel, I just really appreciate you. I'm like, man, Ken, to be honest, you don't know how much that means right now.
Yep.
You know,
It's true.
and you're like, what's going on? I'm like, well, you know, started this morning with the dog got hit by a car.
Yeah.
Then my grandma died, and then my cousin died, and all this, that, and the other, right? And you're like, dang, I got life good right now.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
well,
Or
it goes
it may not even turn into a conversation.
Yeah, it may not.
You know, I have there's a friend of mine named Brad Modrich who is a phenomenal human being, and I think he has it set up in his phone or something every couple of months as a reminder, maybe, I don't know, but he sends me a text message every month or two. Hey man, just wanted to reach out and tell you that man, you make the world a better place, and I'm honored to call you a friend. And it seems like I get that text message like right at the right moment, you know. It's
Right.
like, I
Yeah.
needed that. Thank you. You
Yeah.
know, I love you too,
Yeah.
bro. You know, and so I love what you're saying, man. And I think though that people need to and you've learned this through a lot of reading, a lot of training. You're in the ministry, so you've read the Bible a time or two. You know, yeah, and but you know, it creates it's the whole GIGO thing, right? Garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you're feeding your mind with is what's going to come out in your life. It's going to manifest in your life. So,
100%.
dude, I love everything you're saying. Everything that you're saying, it's spot on.
Yeah, just show love to your neighbor.
I know it is that simple, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And do it without like what you said. Do it without expecting it back, because sometimes it just frankly won't come back, and that's okay. You know what? Smile. Be happy. You know,
Being a good and ethical person does always come back.
yeah. You know what? It's gonna weed out the rest. It's all good.
Yeah.
You know, that's there was too many times in the past I got like, man, this person's and don't stay there long. It's a bad place. It just sinks you into the quicksand.
True story, man.
So
True story.
Anytime anybody you reach out to me on Instagram or whatever, you feeling down, I'll try to make time and visit with you. So it's like, you know, if I can share something encouraging, you know, by all means. 100%.
I love it, dude. Joel, you're a great man, and I'm very grateful that you came on and shared your story. Even got to see Audrey there for a second. Is she still with you there?
She is on a Zoom, I think, or a live right now.
Oh, okay.
So, here, you can see her over there.
Oh, there she is.
So,
oh, that's great.
So yeah. So,
well,
we're road warrioring it for sure here out in Florida. It's a hard thing to do when it's snowing back home, but I guess we'll live with it.
What's the temperature in Miami right now?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see here. It's got to be in the 70s.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's versus at home. I think I'm waiting for it to load here real quick. I want to say it's like maybe
a foot of snow.
A foot of snow. Yeah.
He called the boy this morning and said, "Get up and go shovel right now."
Yep.
He was dead asleep. My mom's like, "I was gonna let him sleep in."
Yeah. No, keep that boy. Get out there. Yeah. You put your back into it. You get to work, and that's how you just take care of things. And you have the rest of the day to have some fun.
Was he just asking where I was, or does
no, he was asking.
There's no question for me, is there?
There's no any questions for him?
No.
Just wanted to say hi, and it was great seeing you.
You too, Ken. Always wonderful.
Yes. Well, Joel, thank you so much.
Anytime, man.
Appreciate you, man. And everybody go follow Joel. Go to joelbuhr.com, right?
Yep, that works. Perfect. Follow me there.
And all your social media is linked from there.
If it's not, it will be momentarily.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody go follow him. Joel, stay with me. I'm going to end the live stream. Thank you to everybody who's been on and shared this out. Thank you for all your wonderful comments, and make sure you go follow my brother Joel right now, and we will see you guys later. Joel, thanks so much, brother.
100%, man.
See you guys.